You talking to me? I can hear you. Yeah, but I feel like we're so... Yeah. This is like backs. This isn't a good image.
Mike Thompson for their determined leadership in bringing this legislation to the floor. This package represents the most significant action to prevent gun violence in nearly 3 decades, and it is a necessary step to honor our solemn duty as lawmakers to protect and defend the American people. Importantly, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act has earned strong support from gun owners, gun survivors, and law enforcement alike. Gun Owners for Responsible Ownership endorsed our bill, saying, "We write today as responsible gun owners, but above all else, we are proud parents and grandparents of toddlers, students, and young teachers. We want them to be safe." Every Town for Gun Safety wrote that this common sense legislation addresses every form of gun violence. And the Fraternal Order of Police and the International Associations of Chiefs of Police applauded our bipartisan agreement, calling it a giant step forward and one that will save lives. I repeat, a giant step forward and one that will save lives. The statement of the Fraternal Order of Police and the International Association of Chiefs of Police.
On Live Channel
Indeed, keeping our children safe is a unifying issue for our country.
Pelosi
It must be a
about the
unifying
gun,
issue in this Congress.
legislation.
Yesterday, our
House
nation
TV.
watched in horror as a radical partisan supermajority of the Supreme Court ruled to flood America's streets with even more deadly weapons. It is unconscionable that as America reaches a fever pitch of gun violence, this court has chosen to create a new right to bring guns into public spaces while hindering the ability of states to stop the bloodshed. In doing so, the GOP supermajority Trump-McConnell court is implicitly endorsing the tragedy of mass shootings and daily gun deaths plaguing our nation. But with this bipartisan package, we take the first steps to fight back on behalf of the American people who desperately want new measures to keep communities safe in the high numbers in the polling. Our Democratic House majority has again and again passed landmark legislation that would combat the scourge of gun violence, and we will never give up in our fight to save lives. Mr. Speaker, our fight to prevent gun violence is of, by, and for the children. Of the children because they are suffering. It's heartbreaking that in America more children die from guns than any other cause. By the children because they are leading. We see the children marching in the streets, testifying before Congress, demanding action. And always for the children, building a future where every child can reach his or her fulfillment free from the fear of gun violence. To the members who lack the courage to join in this work, to those who lack the courage to join in this work, I say your political survival is insignificant compared to the survival of our children. And today we will prevail for the children. I urge a strong bipartisan aye vote for this life-saving legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from California yields back. The gentleman from New York reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you what saves lives. The decision we got from the Supreme Court today saves lives. This bill takes rights away from law-abiding citizens, their Second Amendment liberties. That's the key distinction. I yield 2 minutes to my friend, the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Speaker Pelosi just lectured us. She said guns are the #1 killer of children in America. That's not true. Abortion violence is the #1 killer of children in America until today. There's no right to abortion in the Constitution, and thankfully the Supreme Court finally said that decisively, thanks be to God. There is a right, however, a crystal clear right in the Constitution to keep and bear arms. But here we are today. Congress is moving full steam ahead to restrict the right to self-defense for law-abiding gun owners and the right to due process for all Americans. This legislation is the wrong approach, and we ought to oppose it. In our Judiciary Committee markup several days ago, some of our Democrat colleagues here on the floor today openly said they don't care about the Constitution, they don't care about its protections, they want to overlook that. And this bill does that. It's a perfect example of members of Congress simply ignoring the Constitution. President Biden and his administration are already disobeying laws that we have on the books to revoke firearm dealer licenses over simple clerical errors. This legislation is going to make that worse. This is not going to help anything. It's going to lead to more errors, more false flags, more backlogs in the NICS system. There's nothing in this bill to fix that. There's nothing in this bill to increase school safety. See, we want real solutions. We think that we ought to harden the schools, real physical improvements to help protect children, but that's not here. They didn't have time for that. 2 weeks ago, I had a very moving conversation with Pastor Y.J. Jimenez. He's a pastor on the ground ministering to the people of Uvalde community who have suffered such an unspeakable loss. He said something that was really clear, and I think it's echoed throughout America. People paid a lot of attention to it. He said, you know what? We need to address the root causes of all this bloodshed. He said, America's problem is not guns. America's problem is a heart problem, and he's exactly right. We're seeing today the results of decades of decline in the secularization of American society and the open assault on our institutions, family, religion, morality, the breakdown of law and order. We see the results of all this on young people, in clinical settings, in schools, and everywhere else. We want to do things that matter. It's not more gun control. It's not more federal laws. It's not more intrusive government. We have to address the root causes. I will yield back. This is the
gentleman from Ohio reserves.
Reserve.
And the gentleman from New York is recognized. Gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I now yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentlelady from Texas, a member of the Judiciary Committee, Ms. Jackson Lee.
Gentlewoman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
I stand here in the name of Mr. Garza, whose daughter in Uvalde bled out, Buffalo, Tulsa, Parkland, Santa Fe, Sandy Hook. And I stand here with the recognition of my chairman, Mr. Nadler, and the years and decades, mine over 2 decades, of fighting for gun laws. And so as I hold up the number of gun laws that I introduced over 27 years, pages and pages, I can say to the Senate and this bill, Safer Communities, they have built on our legislation. My bill, the Mental Health Access and Gun Violence Prevention, which increased access to mental health treatment in this bill. The Violence Against Women Act, the boyfriend loophole in this bill. The Protecting Our Kids Act and the issues dealing with raising the age and bumper guns and ghost guns are yet to be done. But we can stand on this because it was bipartisan. People are dying every day, And it is obvious that through the legislation, the New York Times said, here are the shootings, pages and pages, that could have been stopped by stricter gun laws.
Time has
I
expired.
rise to
The
support
gentleman
this
from New
legislation.
York is recognized. Gentlewoman's recognized for 30 seconds.
This article says the mass shootings where stricter gun laws might have made a difference. We understand that this legislation is only the concrete beginning, and my friends are going to attack that. But the American people are 70% for banning various weapons that are assault weapons. They are 70% and more for extreme risk protection. They are 70% and more for understanding that we need an extended time for purchase of these guns. And yes, they are supporters of the Kimberly-Vaughn bill, which is a storage bill, which says that we need to get people to prevent suicide.
Which time's expired. The gentleman from New York reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
The House floor to set up
Thank you,
for
Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman, Mr. Speaker. I thank God for the decision that
I've been having problems with, maybe I should take Ken's button. I've been having problems with this button being compatible with this. Let's see, maybe I can keep my earpiece but take whatever.
Okay.
Let's see. Is there one right in here? I can do this. Can I take like another, I think it's, let me call you right back. Sorry. I think it's the button. This button